Hey everyone, welcome to another ACR radio. This week we've got a little something different for you. We have a demotivational speaker. So for those who don't know what a demotivational speaker is, this will be a really interesting listen. We got the chance to interview Mike Winnet this week, which was one of those things where I didn't really know how to approach it, because how do you ask a demotivational speaker how he motivates people, how he doesn't motivate people, what he's learned from his journey, why call himself a demotivational speaker and not a realist, an optimist, all other words of that ilk, I guess. Mike is a really, really interesting guy. His take on business, life, and all of these different areas, in my opinion, is really refreshing. I really enjoyed speaking to him. I think I do agree with a lot of what he says. You've got guys like Gary V and Oleg and all these people who we mentioned in the show. I've nothing against. I follow these people too. I'm inspired by them. I'm motivated by them from time to time. But it's really interesting for someone to say that's not how it should be. Mike makes an interesting comment on the show about if everyone's selling, who's buying, and that's the thing. Like, not everybody needs to do everything to be okay. We talk about quite a lot where success is relative to you, to your life, to your aspirations. All of these people who try and motivate you, Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, and the like of those guys, they always tell you how to be successful, but they never actually define what success is, because it is unique to you. Your desires, your motivations, your outlook on life is completely unique to you. And that's kind of what Mike is saying. If you want to be a bin man, then that's absolutely fine. If you want to own £100 million business, that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with either of those things. It's how you define yourself and how you define success to you. So take a listen, let us know what you think, and enjoy the show. Okay, so this week on the show we've got Mike Winnet. I'm going to let Mike introduce himself, but before he does, I just really want to say thanks to Mike for taking the time. We appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate you talking about your books and your business and things like that. And for anyone who doesn't know or isn't aware of Mike Winnet, welcome to the show. And do you want to drop yourself an introduction?
Yeah, so I am Mike Winnet, and I am the UK's #1 demotivational speaker. So I am on LinkedIn, and I'm the antidote to the Olegs and the Bridgets and the other self-appointed inspirational gurus. That's basically what I do. I remind people that they've got their dreams and capabilities completely mixed up, and that's a recipe for disaster. So the chances of you making a real impact on the world are minimal. You need to stop believing all the hype. You're not going to be as successful as these motivational people tell you. Just enjoy being average, because that's what we all are. That's it, really.
So then, I suppose the first question, which most people will be thinking, and certainly for me was the question that jumped out first, was why call yourself a demotivational speaker? Why not something more positive? Why not a realist and something along that kind of ilk rather than demotivational? Do you think it brings negative connotations with it?
Well, I suppose it could do, but and as you'll know from marketing, you want to try and put yourself in a niche or a sector where there's minimal competition, and only an idiot would call themselves a demotivational speaker. And I'm that idiot, really. So it was, why join an overpopulated sector? Motivational speakers are 10 a penny, and they all seem to be following the same paint by numbers rules of being inspirational. It's almost like fake inspirational, isn't it? So I just thought, well, I'm going to try and go against as many of those rules as I can. So don't get me wrong. I was brought up in a broken home, and I used to sell chocolate in school, and then I turned to drug dealing, and now I'm a multi-million best-selling Amazon author, or I've got multiple world records. Sure, that might be inspiration to some people, but I don't really think it is to a lot of people. So by being in this niche, I think people can instantly identify with it. And I think that there's definitely a crowd on LinkedIn that seems to be growing, really, that's sick of these almost fake entrepreneurs and inspirational leaders out there that are trying to force the same watered down inspirational message to us. So that was it. It was just so it was easily identifiable, and I could be seen as different to these other people.
So do you think when you pitch yourself as a demotivational speaker and you talk about being average and it's fine to be average, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we view success as well in a little bit, which I know we talked about earlier. Do you think that people get it and get the idea of what you're about? Do you think they understand when you put tongue-in-cheek posts on LinkedIn or on Twitter and Facebook and all these kinds of things that you're saying what they wish they could say? Or do you find that people think you're just trying to be clever about it and trying to get a rise out of it?
I think, do you know what? I honestly think that people that follow me I wouldn't even say follow me. I'd say people that sort of interact or engage with my content usually fall into three groups. It's those that understand exactly what I'm doing and realize that it's almost like holding a mirror up to these motivational people and showing like how ridiculous it is and how easy it is to construct posts in a certain way. But obviously I'm doing it in a way where it highlights how ridiculous that those posts are. So there's those people that get it and like it. There's those people that don't get it and they comment. And I mean, some of the comments on my posts are absolute gold, and these are people in senior positions that you'd consider to be intelligent people or smart people. You've heard of Poe's law before. It's like they can't see that that's so grossly exaggerated, or it's so blatantly obvious it's parody or it's satire, that they can't see it. But because they're so desperate to almost display how professional they are and why it's such a they're chomping at the bit really to stamp down on it. There's those people, and then there's other people that actually just think I'm an absolute idiot, and they don't get it at all. They just think like it's not real, or only an idiot would say these types of things. So they're the groups that you get. Those that get it and find it funny, those that get it and don't find it funny, and then there's those that don't get it whatsoever, and they seem to be the ones that I enjoy the most interacting with, to be honest.
So do you think then, off the back of that one where you were saying about company leaders and CEOs and all these kind of things jump on it and they want to be seen as that corporate guy, they want to be seen as that epitome of business and aspiration and all these kind of things. Is there a way where you think they wish they could say what you're saying and that's why they're jumping on it? Like, I completely agree with you, but my facade is I'm a businessman, so I'm a businessman or businesswoman. Or business person.
I think some people, I call it like faux anger. They pretend they're enraged or outraged or about some of the comments, even though a lot of the stuff that I say online, we all know goes on in the workplace. Now, you're not telling me that when you get some CVs from potential new candidates or employees that you're going to interview, that there isn't that lad in the office that goes onto Facebook and checks some of the names. Because we all know that happens, because we've all worked in that workplace where that happens. And you're not telling me where you've not said, oh, well, I like the look of him or I like the look of her, let's get them down for interview. Because, again, we know that happens. But then if I put that online, some people make out that that's really unprofessional. But it's like, I bet that goes on in your recruitment company, or that goes on in your sales company, or that goes on in your call center, or that goes on. It goes on across the whole UK in many jobs. And we all know it happens. So I don't know why we pretend that it doesn't. So it's like, it's a perfect opportunity for these so-called professional people to show that we don't do that here and we frown upon that. When in reality, they do that there, probably.
Yeah, it happens every day. I've been in offices before where people have said who's coming in for the interview and they've been Facebooked or Googled or whatever else. Like, I think just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, which is true of a lot of things.
Exactly that. So that's all it was really. It was kind of like trying to hold a mirror up to some of the things that people say online and then what we know actually goes on behind that in the real world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like when you give someone Employee of the Month and they post a picture up of them and there they are smiling with a certificate. Like, I don't know. I think some people's idea of marketing themselves and their businesses on LinkedIn it's so sterile and so wrong that it's almost like counterproductive. By trying to please everybody, you're actually pleasing no one. And also, like I was saying about the people that get what I do, there's definitely a group of people on there that are smart enough to see through this bullshit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
And I think that's a growing number, by the way.
Like,
it's just, there's a huge number that actually like some of that content, you know, where it's like fake, made up stories about hiring someone, you know, that no one else has taken a chance on, and how they became the top earner or the best hire ever within like 3 weeks of starting. We can all see those stories aren't true, but they get thousands of likes. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of people out there that obviously can't think for themselves or read between the lines of a post or see stuff for what it is.
Do you think there's an element of, there's a, in a way, to play devil's advocate, there's a place for those stories though, as a pick me up, or as a, do you know what, your feed is full of self-promotion, your feed is full of check out my link, do this for me, do that for me, download this ebook, look at this white paper, and there's so much online socially that is just a hard sell. Sometimes those things are like an escape to say, do you know what, there is, even if it's not,
don't get me wrong, there is a
story.
Yeah, there is a place for it. It's called the fiction section at the library. If you want to read stuff like that, go there.
Okay, cool.
Don't get me wrong. A lot of these people, some of them are doing some really good stuff, and some of them genuinely do live the life that they profess to do online. But it's almost like the next tier of these influencers, which are trying to copy those top level, and it's there they are with their Amazon bestseller, world record holder job titles, CEO, founder job titles. When it's you sat in your kitchen, it's like, cool, just say what it is, because that's actually what people are more likely to buy into, I believe.
Yeah, just you.
I might be wrong, by the way.
No, do you know what, we were talking before about, just before we came on the show, I've had multiple conversations lately with clients about just saying, just put a bit more of you into your business, put a bit more of what you are, your situation, your the way you run your business, because there's so much fluff and so much, like we mentioned before, so many filtered feeds, so many filtered lifestyles, so many filtered approaches to different things, that I think there is an element of people want real. People want to see you not struggle, but they want to see you put the grind in. Like we mentioned before, there's influencers now who spend their whole amount of time just building their feed out to make it look completely fake. And like, this is my life. It's not your life because it's completely fake. Like, make it look like your life.
Do you know what? Don't tell us about the 10 best hires that you've ever made. Tell us about the one that you absolutely messed up on and ended up logged into the, skimming your money from the online banking because you give them the details.
Yeah.
Or tell them about that time that you went on the Christmas do and it turned into an absolute fist fight and you're never going out on a Christmas do again. Like, they're the kind of stories that I think people want to hear, not, oh, look, I gave an old blazer of mine to a homeless person and then get a picture with them. Like, I just find that's just ridiculous, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just weird. So then the whole fake view versus real life versus the grey area in the middle. So you, like we mentioned before, you label yourself as a demotivational speaker, UK's number one demotivational speaker. Do you find that when you speak or your books that are out and stuff like that, that they're actually motivational to that person who is happy being themselves? Like we mentioned before, success is relative to your life, to your lifestyle, to what you want. Some people, success is having a family. I don't necessarily care about what job I have as long as I come home to my family, as long as I have a roof over my head. Some people, success is I want £1 million, 10 million, 100 million. So by being honest in that regard, do you find that you are motivational in that respect?
I don't know, really. I suppose you'd have to ask the people that like my stuff. I think, really, and this is me personally, I find my own motivation in demotivation, like you've got to look at